Now, the last place police searched for the missing baby last night was a dark, muddy field in northeast San Antonio, not far from the family's home. That's where officers say they found what they believe is his body, shoved in a backpack and buried in a vacant lot. Eyewitness News reporter Sue Kalberg is live at the spot where the hopeful search turned tragic, with more on this case. Sue?
And you know, last night it was muddy, but right now it is raining. But that is not stopping the flow of emotion here. There are people coming here, have been coming here all afternoon, leaving tributes of all sorts, balloons and toys for the baby. And most of the people we've talked to, they don't know the family, they don't know the baby. They're just exceptionally sad. Now, Police Chief William McManus said finding the baby's body here in this desolate field is not the end. He says the detectives will keep working, and he says they will track down anyone who was involved in hurting the baby, hiding the baby, or trying to destroy evidence about what happened to the baby.
The hard part of the investigation is just beginning. And the investigation won't be finished until we can answer how exactly King Jay died, who knew it, and when they knew it.
We have now charged this individual, Mr. Davila, with several offenses. He's got bonds totaling over $1 million. We intend to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law.
I think it shows the community that there is no effort we will not take as law enforcement to find missing children.
That was Christopher Combs, the special agent in charge of the San Antonio FBI office. Now, the FBI has been working this case. Many of these agents, of course, without pay because of the federal government shutdown. He says that the people who have been on the case, many of them have gone without food, they've gone without sleep, because they have been that dedicated to finding this baby 24/7. At the news conference this morning, they said they were grateful to everybody in the public who has helped them, everybody who has reached out to them. They're just desperately wishing, just like all of the people who are here with tributes this afternoon, that the outcome had been much better. Live in northeast San Antonio, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.